Examining the individuals involved in the Georgia election fraud case, which is linked to Trump's election scheme, reveals a list of 19 key figures. Out of the 18 individuals charged alongside former President Donald Trump for their involvement in an unlawful plot to overturn the 2020 presidential election results in Georgia, 4 have recently reached agreements with prosecutors. These individuals have pleaded guilty to lesser charges and have agreed to provide truthful testimony in upcoming trials. In the ongoing legal proceedings, Attorney Jenna Ellis has recently joined the ranks of those who have distanced themselves from Trump. Ellis made the decision to plead guilty to a solitary felony charge, and in return, she received a probationary sentence instead of facing time behind bars. Last week, fellow lawyers Sidney Powell and Kenneth Chesbro also struck similar agreements, conveniently coinciding with the scheduled commencement of their trial. By invoking their right to a swift trial, they were able to secure these deals. Scott Graham Hall, a bail bondsman, set the precedent by being the first to enter a guilty plea last month. The individuals involved in the case, including Trump, have entered pleas of not guilty. In August, Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis concluded a comprehensive investigation that spanned over 2 years and resulted in the 4th criminal case against the former president. The indictment consists of 41 charges encompassing racketeering, the breach of a public officer's oath, forgery, making false statements, and various other offences. Let's take a glimpse at the individuals who have been charged, a total of 19 in number. Following the 2020 general election, then President Donald Trump became fixated on Georgia, refusing to accept his narrow defeat in the state and making baseless claims of widespread election fraud. He went as far as contacting top state officials, including Governor Brian Kemp, in an attempt to persuade them to overturn his loss. During a phone call on January 2, 2021, with Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, Trump even suggested that Raffensperger could assist in finding the necessary votes for him to secure a victory in the state. It was shortly after the release of a recording of this call that Willis initiated an investigation into potential illegal actions aimed at influencing the election. In December 2020, Rudy Giuliani, the former mayor of New York and attorney for Donald Trump, presented unverified claims of extensive election fraud in Georgia during multiple hearings held at the Georgia Capitol. Additionally, prosecutors have alleged that Giuliani played a role in a scheme where 16 Georgia Republicans would act as fraudulent electors, falsely asserting that Trump emerged as the victor in the 2020 presidential election and proclaiming themselves as the legitimate and authorized electors of the state. A key figure in Trump's post-2020 election endeavors was John Eastman, a former dean of Chapman University's law school in Southern California and one of his legal advisors. Eastman played a significant role in formulating a strategy to maintain Trump's hold on power. He authored a memo proposing that Trump could retain the presidency if Vice President Mike Pence overturned the certified electoral results during a joint session of Congress. This plan involved appointing a set of alternate electors in 7 crucial states, such as Georgia, who would deceitfully validate Trump's victory in those states. During the month of December 2020, Mark Meadows, the chief of staff for former President Trump, paid a visit to Cobb County, located on the outskirts of Atlanta. Coinciding with this visit, state investigators were in the process of conducting an audit on the signatures found on absentee ballot envelopes. It was during this time that Meadows managed to obtain the contact information of Francis Watson, the chief investigator for the Secretary of State's office. Without delay, he relayed this information to Trump, who proceeded to make a call to Watson. Additionally, Meadows was also an active participant in the phone conversation that took place on January 2, 2021, between Trump and Brad Raffensperger, the Secretary of State for Georgia. Sidney Powell, a lawyer and unwavering supporter of President Trump, was in attendance at a notorious meeting in December 2020 held at the White House, during which participants devised implausible plans. Furthermore, she was a member of a group that convened at the residence of conservative attorney Lin Wood in South Carolina in November 2020, with the intention of exploring strategies to impact the outcome of the Georgia and other November 2020 elections, according to prosecutors. Prosecutors also claim that Powell played a role in coordinating a team of computer forensics experts to journey to rural Coffee County, located approximately 200 miles southeast of Atlanta, in January 2021, in order to duplicate data and software from the electoral equipment. An attorney named Kenneth Chesbro collaborated with Republicans in several swing states, including Georgia, which Donald Trump lost in the November 2020 election. Acting under the direction of Trump's campaign, Chesbro played a role in organizing and implementing a strategy. This strategy involved persuading 16 Georgia Republicans to sign a certificate falsely asserting that Trump emerged as the victor and proclaiming themselves as the state's legitimate and qualified electors. Jeffrey Clark, an official within the U.S. Justice Department, fervently advocated for former President Trump's baseless allegations of election fraud. Testimony given before the U.S. House Committee, which investigated the Capitol riot on January 6, 2021, revealed that Clark had presented his colleagues with a preliminary letter urging Georgia officials to hold a special legislative session regarding the election results. Despite Clark's insistence, his superiors at the Justice Department declined to send the letter. During a hearing at the Georgia Capitol held on December 3, 2020, and organized by Republican lawmakers, Jenna Ellis, a lawyer who appeared alongside Giuliani, made baseless claims of election fraud. In addition to this, Ellis provided legal memos to Trump and his legal team, suggesting that Vice President Pence should ignore certified electoral college votes from states like Georgia during the congressional certification of the election results on January 6, 2021, according to prosecutors. Ray Smith, a lawyer hailing from Georgia, played a significant role in various legal battles contesting the outcome of the 2020 election within the state. Additionally, Smith organized a group of witnesses who testified in front of Georgia legislative subcommittee hearings in December 2020, addressing purported concerns surrounding the integrity of the election process. Following Rudy Giuliani's address, Robert Cheeley, a lawyer from Georgia, presented legislators with video evidence depicting election workers at the State Farm Arena in Atlanta. Cheeley claimed that these workers engaged in the duplication of votes, counting them multiple times. Michael Roman, a former White House aide who played a key role in overseeing Trump's Election Day operations, was actively engaged in orchestrating the creation of fraudulent electors following the conclusion of the 2020 election. Among the group of 16 state Republicans who convened at the Georgia State Capitol on December 14, 2020, to sign a certificate falsely asserting Trump's victory and proclaiming themselves as the legitimate electors of the state, David Schaeffer, the chairman of the Georgia GOP, played a prominent role. Additionally, he aligned himself with Trump by participating in a lawsuit aimed at contesting the certification of Georgia's 2020 election results. Sean Still, a prominent figure within the Georgia Republican Party, played a significant role in the controversial events surrounding the 2020 election. As the finance chairman for the state GOP and a delegate to the Republican National Convention, Still was among the 16 Georgia Republicans who signed a certificate falsely asserting that Donald Trump had emerged victorious in the state. In a bold move, they declared themselves as the duly elected and qualified electors. Despite the controversy, Still's political career continued to flourish, and he was successfully elected to the Georgia State Senate in November 2022. Currently, he represents a district located in the suburbs of Atlanta. According to prosecutors, Stephen Cliffgard Lee, a pastor, collaborated with a group of individuals in an attempt to exert pressure on Ruby Freeman, a Georgia election worker. This came after false accusations were made by Trump and his allies, claiming that Freeman and her daughter had removed fraudulent ballots from a suitcase during the vote count. Allegedly, Lee approached Freeman's residence, causing her to become frightened and leading her to make 3 separate calls to 911, as stated in a court filing from last year. Willie Floyd III, also known as Harrison William Prescott Floyd, held the position of Director for Black Voices for Trump. He is currently facing accusations of enlisting Lee to coordinate a meeting with Freeman and Chicago-based publicist Trevian C. According to prosecutors, Trevian C CTI, a publicist, is accused of boasting about her connections to law enforcement officials. They claim that CTI and Freeman had a meeting at a police precinct, during which CTI involved Floyd in the discussion via a speakerphone. Prosecutors assert that CTI initially presented herself as a source of assistance for Freeman, but then proceeded to exert pressure on her to make a false confession regarding election fraud. Kathy Latham, the chair of the Coffee County Republican Party, was among the group of 16 Georgia Republicans who signed a certificate falsely proclaiming Trump as the winner of the state and asserting themselves as the legitimate electors. On January 7, 2021, Latham spent a significant amount of time at the county elections office, where she enthusiastically greeted a computer forensics team that arrived to duplicate software and data from the county's election equipment. The Secretary of State's office has deemed this action as unauthorized access to the machines. Accused of participating in a plot to seize voting data belonging to Dominion Voting Systems in Coffee County, a small jurisdiction in South Georgia, is Scott Graham Hall, a bail bondsman based in the Atlanta area. Joining him in the alleged scheme are Powell, Latham, and the former county elections supervisor, Misty Hampton. Misty Hampton, the former elections director of Coffee County, played a significant role in the events that unfolded on January 7, 2021. On that day, a team of computer forensics experts arrived at the county elections office to duplicate the software and data from the election equipment. Additionally, Hampton granted access to 2 individuals who had been actively involved in questioning the results of the 2020 election. These individuals were allowed to enter the elections office later in the month and spent a considerable amount of time examining the equipment. To support our channel's growth and ensure broader awareness, kindly hit the like and subscribe buttons. This will help us reach more individuals and disseminate valuable information. Thank you in advance.